What's really cool about being a part of a company like Gilbane is that we have a lot of knowledge. We have a lot of information and technology to push new innovation, whether it's technology or processes. And in each of these phases, reality capture touches all of them.
We received thousands of drawings from the design team, but we are using reality capture to verify some of the information in those drawings. Then we did a reality capture scan using laser scan to verify the information received through some drawings, and we found some discrepancies, and we communicate that with design team, and it helps us save time very early on before the actual construction. It really facilitates the communication across the team. Our mindset is that every project needs its unique solution, and we are trying to promote this mindset.
This race for innovation, what are we currently using? Where should we be going? Our minds are kind of exploding. How do we avoid biting off more than we can chew? Should we be focusing on that tool and making it better? Can we maximize and improve that tech stack that we currently have? We need to train our people. We need to focus on what they want, what they need, and then actually work towards making it better, implement maybe on some projects, figure out what tools need to be used, and get that moving forward.
I should say the keyword here is simplifying. We are trying to simplify all our processes regarding reality capture. Sometimes to improve a process and simplify that, you don't need a flashy technology. It could be a very simple solution.
And because we're being more intentional with where we want to focus, we're allowing ourselves to invest in our people and their day-to-day happiness, because now we're focusing on things that are going to make their lives better. In the big grand scheme of things, we're empowering our people at Gilbane and shaping their growth and their future through our innovation, our technology, and our data. All right, can you hear me? All right, perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you to RCN and Matt and the entire team for having us here. We're really excited to present to you all today on how we're currently trying to streamline reality capture processes at Gilbane. With that being said, really quick, I'm going to go over an introduction of myself. My name is Kasey Kinney. I'm a VDC, senior VDC manager at Gilbane. I've been there for about 1 year now. However, I have about 14 years of construction background industry experience. Even though I may not have started that route, I actually began as a military person. I graduated from the United States Military Academy, spent some time in military intelligence. And then when I got out, I figured, wow, construction really seems very similar to a military background, working with different types of people from different backgrounds and different lifestyles. So I began as a project engineer and then worked my way into VDC. And here I am today, still working in the industry. Now I'm going to hand it over to Amir to introduce himself.
Thank you, Kasey. Hi, everyone. My name is Amir Maghool. I'm a VDC engineer with Gilbane. I have been with this company for almost a year now. My background is mostly in architecture. I have been an architectural visualization artist for many years. And also, I'm a PhD student studying the impact of built environment, interior architecture on humans using reality capture technology, biosensors, virtual reality, and machine learning. And I'm super excited to be here.
And let me tell you how excited we are to have him here. He is one of our brightest, and we talk all day about innovative engineers. And Amir is here presenting for the first time at a conference, and we're so excited to have him here with us. So real quickly, just a touch, we talked about people. Everyone keeps on bringing people first. And really one thing that I love about Gilbane is that every presentation that we do, whether it's internal or external, we start off with what's called a Gilbane Cares moment. And this is really, it can be construction related and it cannot be construction related. It can be just how it relates to everybody. And that's what I'm going to do real quickly here today to continue with that tradition. October is the National Bullying Prevention Month. Specifically today, one day out of the entire month, and it happens to be when we're presenting today, is called the Day of Unity. And we really just unite together. And I know a lot of people probably have kids at home, or whether they're siblings or maybe cousins or nieces or nephews, that we can understand this unite for kindness right now and inclusion, and to basically prevent students from being bullied. So just want to start off with that moment and just be aware. Okay, so here's what we're here to talk to you about today. First off, we're just going to give you a brief background about our company, about Gilbane, and then move into our current reality capture processes, because we know that not everybody that's here is necessarily involved in construction. So we just want to go over some of our standard everyday practices of reality capture. And then we'll kind of go into a use case, followed by a transition into that innovation race, where we are and where we want to go at Gilbane, and kind of our steps forward for kind of moving innovation and giving you some examples of how we're planning and how we've already done that. All right, so Gilbane's been around for quite a long time. It's a large general contractor. Began back in founded in 1870. The most important part about this slide, yes, we have a lot of people, but what's really cool about being a part of a company like Gilbane in VDC is that we are from all over the US. We have offices throughout the US and outside of the US, which means we have a lot of knowledge. We have a lot of information and people to share that information with. So moving on, I just want to give a little bit of a background of where we're going as a company leading into 2024. So our biggest initiatives right now, as you see, I made these slides before we came here. I think a lot of people have the same mindset as us right now. People first, and how we're going to basically impact with a purpose, using our people through surveys and things of that sort, and then actually strengthening Gilbane with those people and using our technology to push new innovation, whether it's technology or processes. And then this diagram I always like to put in there. So for everyone that's not, I guess, in the construction industry, it's nice to see what areas of reality capture it actually touches throughout our life cycles in the construction industry. So the inner circle, you see your architects, your construction management team, your coordinators, things of that sort, your owner, and then you move into the design, the construction, and the operation phases. And in each of these phases, one thing you'll notice on this slide here, reality capture touches all of them. So I'm going to get into our use cases now and talk a little bit about our current tech stack and the services that we provide using those. So what you're looking at on this slide, I'm not going to go through and name them all, and for the purposes of time, I'm just going to go briefly through some of the services that we provide at Gilbane. But most specifically that you'll see is, we've talked a lot about here so far, is the drones. Okay, we also do 360 photo capturing and laser scanning. So I'm just going to go into some of those use cases. The first one being drones. We do a lot of things with drones. The office that Amir and I are out of, which is the Arlington, Virginia and DC area office. Those of you that know the area, there are a lot of flight restrictions in that area, but our company is largely using drones for site logistics. That's the big one, site planning and logistics, estimating, QA, QC, and inspections. So a real general slide, but just to give you an idea of some of the images and how we're using that. And then to get into laser scanning, this specific example here, we see this a lot at Gilbane. We use our laser scanning model or point clouds and our meshes for QA/QC purposes. What you're looking at here on this slide in the red is actually our existing condition scan of a school where there was actually a waffle slab, whereas if you look at the architectural model in gray, the architectural and structural model there was no waffle slab incorporated. So we were able to reduce a lot of surprises by having this waffle slab located there. And one of those surprises that we realized early on was that the structural model didn't even know or even inquire about where to put their new structure that was going to be going in place in between the waffle slabs. And that's what you kind of see there in the yellow highlighted. Okay, something else that we're currently working towards making processes a little bit smoother, but it is a process that we use very regularly on our job sites, especially our renovation projects, is laser scanning for coordination. So what you see here in blue is a existing scan currently transferred to a mesh. And you can see there's a lot of stuff missing because what we do is we go through the process of cleaning out the scan and we leave, in this case, existing conditions that are going to remain because this is a live project that's actually having work go on around or in between a lot of other areas that are active. Okay, so I want to just talk to what comes next in our coordination process. So then what we'll do is we'll overlay our structural and our architectural models, which is what you see here. And just at a glance, this is just a bird's eye view. If you look around that perimeter on the east side of the building, you're going to see a lot of blue structural elements that were not in the actual structural design model, okay? Also, just at a glance, you can see that there's a lot of structural elements that are in different places than where they actually are in the structural model that we were provided. Just at a bird's overview glance, that's great that we can already see those instances, right? And then what we do is we add all of our trades models into that picture, and it's a little bit confusing. There's a lot there. So how do we run Clash? We kind of separate each of those elements into, for example, what you're looking at here. Those scans are now highlighted in green in this case because you're looking at that clash detection view. And the duct in this case is what's being clashed against the scans. And then we have a whole process for how we introduce that into coordination issues and work from there. And then lastly, I'm just going to touch on this one because it's a big one that we use at Gilbane, is the heat map analysis. We use this for our floors. We use this for walls. What you see on the left is a floor analysis, but also on the right is a kind of interesting instance where we had some structural supports on an exterior patio area that needed to remain, and we needed to put structural cross bracing across those, and we needed to make sure that both sides parallel were actually level, or create some instance where we could make it level because we were pouring and getting a new patio top to that. And with that being said, this is kind of a broad example of how we're currently using these processes and reality capture processes at Gilbane. And I'm going to turn it over to Amir to get a little bit more specific of how he's using these on a large project in multiple instances.
All right. Thank you, Kasey, for giving us an overview of the VDC services related to reality capture we provide at Gilbane. I'm going to talk about specifically on the project that I'm assigned to, and this project is located in Washington, D.C. It is a big project, very complex. It spans across two city blocks. The budget is plus $1 billion, and it has a very aggressive schedule. At the same time, it's a long-term project. It's going to be more than 5 years. And we have literally, we have an army of people working on this project. We have on-site VDC engineers. We have on-site surveying team, and we are working all together to make this project happen. There are different services we are providing on this project that are related to reality capture. I listed them on here on this slide. On the left side, you can see as part of this project, we are supposed to document existing conditions. And mostly these are requirements for some elements in the building. It is a renovation project, so there are a couple of elements in the building that have historic values. And we are supposed to document those elements, and at some cases, we are supposed to replicate them. On the slide, you can see it is a trim for an elevator, and we did a scan. Specifically, we use photogrammetry technology, and we share that information with our subcontractors to replicate those decorative panels and build it later. The other use case for reality capture is for verifying existing conditions. So we receive thousands of drawings from the design team, but we are using reality capture to verify some of the information in those drawings. Specifically on this example, we were supposed to salvage stones covering a wall and demolish the core of that wall and create a new concrete core later and put back the stones on that wall. So we did a salvage, and then we did a reality capture scan using laser scans to verify the information received through some drawings. And we found some discrepancies, and we communicate that with design team, and it helps us save time later, very early on before the actual construction happens. And next is BIM coordination. As Kasey mentioned, we are heavily using laser scanning and generating meshes out of those scans to do our coordination, to check there is no conflict with our MEP systems and the existing condition in the building. As I say, it's a renovation project, and there are lots of existing to remain elements. On top of that, since it is a very complex project, we also have some structural elements that are there for temporary. So we need to also factor in those elements into our MEP BEM coordination. Fourth, we are doing surface flatness analysis on floors, on walls, for different purposes. Actually, recently we found that there was we received the same information from the design team for floor flatness, but we verified those information, and we found some discrepancies. And next one is site logistics. So we collect, we have our BEM model incorporated into a visualization using high-resolution satellite images to create a very rich visual for site logistics that can be used for planning purposes. It really facilitates the communication across the team. And last but not least, we are using reality capture technology for quality control. And this is a specific example provided on the slide. It is a portion of job that there was like 3 trades involved in. There was a subcontractor that was installing the slurry walls. There was another subcontractor that was installing the bracing, and a subcontractor that was pouring the concrete for a new garage. And we did some BEM coordination for this scope of the work, but as you all know, there might be some tolerances in the field that is acceptable actually. So we did another scans after the actual installation of some of those elements to verify that nothing is in conflict. And this is just a portion of this reality capture services that we are providing on this project. And to be honest, our mindset is that every project needs its unique solution. And we are trying to promote this mindset. And now I hand it over to Kasey. She's going to explain how we are trying to promote this mindset.
Thanks, Amir. All right, so here's the big question we're all asking ourselves right now, right? Like this race for innovation. Where are we at right now? Where should we be going? There's so much technology out there. You've seen this probably so many different places. What are we currently using? Where should we be going? Our minds are kind of exploding. We have so much pressure from those above asking us regularly, like, where are you? What are we doing? What's the new big flashy thing, right? So it's interesting that this should come up because I was actually out in the conference area, the lobby area, yesterday, and after, I think it was during the Spot presentation, and this is just a perfect example of this mindset, right? I'm walking and I hear a couple people saying, man, Spot's old, he's getting old. And I was wondering myself, are they talking about like the robot as a real dog, like the dog's aging, or are they actually talking about Spot, the innovative tool that they're using, because it's maybe 5 years, 4 years old, it being outdated? So there's all this pressure, right? Just because it's not new, where should we be going? Should we be focusing on that tool and making it better? Or do we need to be buying new things, new flashy technology tools? And that's kind of where we're at right now. How do we avoid biting off more than we can chew? And I think a lot of people can say they're in the same boat, right? Because there's so much out there. So what we did recently as a company, we actually got all of our VDC personnel in the last, actually it was like 2.5 weeks ago, together, and we were brainstorming and coming up, where should we be going for 2024 and in the next 5 years? And what questions really came up is, what innovation really, what does it really mean to us as a company? And does our focus have to be on this latest flashy new technology? Yes, it might come into play down the road, but can we maximize and improve that tech stack that we currently have? And so that's kind of where we're at, and that's why the title of this presentation, and we're here to talk about where we're going and how we plan to streamline our processes. So to give you a little bit more feedback and some intuition into our goals for this year. So it's exciting to hear a lot of people have similar mentalities to us. A lot of the panels have been talking, everyone's been mentioning people first, right? We need to train our people. We need to focus on what they want, what they need. So that's really what we're taking away. We're going to put our people first. We're going to use those people to kind of move forward and focus, take a little bit of that focus off of our technology innovation. Now, we're not saying we're not going to be innovating anymore with technology, but we're going to focus on process innovation. So what we're calling it is we're differentiating between technology and process innovation. And they might go hand in hand, right? But that's kind of, we're going to use our established tech stack and move forward to make it better and our processes better. So how are we going to do that? And how are we doing that? So we've kind of started some of these processes. The first step that we've kind of begun is to process or to document our current processes and deliverables. This is a baseline documentation process. So this is something that is being documented at a very high level that basically can explain something to anyone within the company on what we're doing, what tools we have, and what deliverables we can produce, and some use cases. This documentation, for the most part, for drones, laser scanning, things of that sort, has been pushed forward and continues to be reformatted at Gilbane. And actually, I just want to point out, because I think it's pretty cool, Amir was one of our first guys to use the Navis scanner here. So he's in one of those photos there as well. But either way, that's our step one, okay? Step two is now we have all this basic baseline documentation. What do we do with our tech savvy personnel, and how do we train and understand as a whole company how to use these tools and these processes? So we're creating operation manuals, and this is a long process because somebody in New England may be using a Trimble scanner, whereas some of us in DC might be using Faro scanners, and someone on the West Coast might be using a Navis scanner. So we have to bring together all of our brain power and all of our people to put together these operation and maintenance manuals, as well as resource guides, some how-tos, some simplified ways and processes of how Gilbane wants to promote doing these technologies and implementing them. So that's step two. These are currently ongoing, almost complete. Step three, this is kind of a simplified version of what do we want to do? Like, what processes do we want to focus on? And I think Todd said it pretty well, and a couple other people on that first panel. Everyone keeps on referring back to Todd. He's pretty popular with a lot of the things he said. But I think it's really important that we pick and choose what we want to focus on. And at Gilbane, that's really what we're being given that freedom to do right now. And as I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of internal peer groups which allow us to do that. So the first step on what we think for the evaluation and improvement phase, after we have all of this documentation, is to get feedback. So we're surveying internal, external. We're trying to get as much ideas for wherever we need, whatever areas we need improvement. What are we doing well? What are we not doing well? Then we're going to get together as a team and figure out, where is there a need, right? Where is that need? And figure out those small little niche places of where we need to actually dive into and make our processes better based on that feedback. And then actually work towards making it better, implement maybe on some projects, figure out what tools need to be used, and get that moving forward. So that was kind of like, I don't know, a how do we improve for, like, beginners, but this is actually how our improvement process works at Gilbane. There's a lot of words on this slide, but as you can see, there is a formal process to how we bring ideas to the table. And this is so important because someone mentioned before, everything has to be pushed from the top down. But I really think it needs to come from both ways. And we think that at Gilbane, and that's why this is such an important process for how we're cycling innovation throughout the company and trying to get some new technology processes through the technology we have implemented. And with that being said, so I talked on a very, very broad level, and we were talking a little bit about the mindset of getting to push these innovative processes forward. Now, Amir is going to actually talk to an actual example of how he used process innovation with the project team, which is what we're going for, right? We don't want it to just come from the top. We want it to be happening just in every day. So, Amir?
Sure. Thank you, Kasey. So I already mentioned that it is a very complex project, and our team, VDC team at this Washington, DC downtown project is working on four fronts to facilitate streamlining reality capture processes. And I should say that the keyword here is simplifying. We are trying to simplify all our processes regarding reality capture. First, information access. We are using different laser scanning technology, reality capture technology, and we are collecting lots of information. But we are working extensively to make this information accessible for everyone, not for our project team, like PM team and subcontractor, but also for design team and owner. We are sharing our old systems, our platforms with them, and it is a very collaborative environment on this specific project. And obviously, we are using cloud services to share those information, but it's not all about using cloud services. So if you think like you can put some instruction on an email and you can send out a mass email to everyone that, hey, here is our point cloud and you can access it, and people would start using that, you are wrong. Personally, I go talk to people individually one by one, and I explain them how to use our cloud services, how to access point cloud, and that is working perfectly on this project. The second forefront is automation. As part of our reality capture processes, we are doing lots of tasks that are very time consuming, and sometimes human errors make some problem for us. So we are using different tools to automate these processes. On this specific example on the slideshow, you can see that we are trying, like as a part of our reality capture processes, we try to, for example, convert our surveying point from a state plane to local coordinate, and it's a very time-consuming task. Considering that the units that they came from is US survey feet, but we need to convert it to metric system. So we created this script that does this automatically for us, and it's compensate for some missing functionality that is inside the software that we are using. And we also heavily using Dynamo and Python scripts to do some sort of automation for us. Third one is standardization. I already mentioned it's going to be a 5-year project, and I might be on this project for 1 or more 2 years. And we have lots of sophisticated procedures for our reality capture efforts. We are creating documents that are easy to digest regarding the processes that we are implementing for this project. And the hope is that later people can use it easily. And the last forefront is communication. We are working on communication. The reality capture process that we have implemented on this project is a very involved process. We have surveying team giving us control points, and we are using those surveyed control points to register all the scans. And as an example, they have their own database, and we have our own database marking these points. So we came up with a pretty simple solution, designing a sticker that has 2 fields, one for us to put our IDs for the control points and one for the surveying team. But it's working perfectly. So sometimes to improve a process and simplify that, you don't need a flashy technology. It could be a very simple solution. And again, this project is very complex, but at the same time, it has lots of opportunity. It gives us ability to test and make the processes that we have more efficient. So with that said, I'm going to pass it back to Kasey to give us some final thoughts.
Perfect. So the biggest challenge, and I think everyone here can agree, and I think a lot of people are going through the same thing that we talked about, is that mindset shift. You know, how do we get more projects in the mindset that Amir and their project is doing? How do we get more people involved from the top as well, not just focusing on those new flashy technologies? And that's kind of our big push as a company is, is innovation really only measured by those new technologies, or can we be? I think we're all innovative in our own way. We're all innovating, whether it's with a new technology or not. We all are innovators. So with that being said, we feel that streamlining and shifting our mindset will allow us to focus on evaluating and streamlining our current reality capture processes and our tools together. So, and we think that this will allow us not only to save time and money, but to be more efficient. And because we're being more intentional with where we want to focus, we're allowing ourselves to invest in our people and their day-to-day happiness, because now we're focusing on things that are going to make their lives better, right? And more efficient and happier. And this, in the big grand scheme of things, we're empowering our people at Gilbane and shaping their growth and their future through our innovation, our technology, and our data. Thank you all so much for your time. We're really happy to be here.